Yes. Can you hear
Then
me okay?
I can, yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay, I don't know what that was, but yes, I've had a bit of a rough morning, but I think I can endeavor to persevere, if you will.
Did you personally have a rough morning?
Not personally, but just taking care of a few ripples in the pond here.
Just checking.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you and Happy New Year, everyone. I am going to start here this morning real quick. And as you know, or at least Mr. Chair, you know, that that we started off with the annual report. We went to the fourth quarter and we were able to put an annual report together thanks to Nicole Press, which was trying to help me get this printed this morning because it just wasn't coming together. So can we put that up on the screen, Kelly? Thank you very much if we could, and then we'll share it that way. And we'll see some interesting things. So if we just want to go to page 2, and what's new? Yep. Although I'm not new, I'm far from it. I was appointed in August here as the detachment commander, and happy to be here in Southern Georgian Bay, overseeing this wonderful area and the people in the 5 different communities. If nothing's changed, if you ever want to talk to me, and I know some of you have reached out to me, by all means do that. Staff development at Southern Georgian Bay, I have reduced it somewhat just because of the numbers here on staff. I have 1 sergeant in the Northeast, 1 sergeant in the POC, because the POC is the Provincial Operations Center where I came from. If we don't fill the seats in there, we definitely have an issue across the province. And we have to push our people to do times. Get into that just with the staffing pressures there. We are hurting a little bit. With COVID-19 pandemic, as everybody knows, we're into the 4th wave, and it is definitely added pressures. We had over 20 people off just recently from over the Christmas period, and we still have, I believe there's 10 this morning, as of this morning, that are off work, and that's what I was running around trying to get people in at the front desk. So we do have minimum resources in for the administrative side, and the others working from home. So it's 50% that we're working with. Like many others around the area are doing the same thing. And we are meeting minimums for the most part. We're back to minimums now on our uniform side. So over Christmas, we were down to a quarter of what we normally have. And we had people coming from other detachments to help us police here for visibility, more so than taking calls, because it was that bad. So that goes right into our challenges for the COVID-19. We were doing good up until the end of November. We had our first positive case here. And right up until we stopped testing, we had over 20. So it started running rampant. We increased PPE. We did everything we could. We had the cruisers professionally cleaned, thinking that the officers weren't decontaminating right. And that goes into my old line of work when I was a CBRNA specialist on the front line. But you know what? We were doing everything here to make things safe for the staff, and we were still getting ill. So I did find out a couple of things, and I put changes to that. But so we've definitely had a bit of a tough mountain to climb here since the end of November. But we can see light at the end of the tunnel now, if you will. So sorry about that. So those were some of our staffing pressures, and as well as people moving on to other detachments. You have to do, when Commissioner Creek came in, he because we were having a hard time holding people at detachment, new officers would come in and they want to be, let's say, in Guelph, because that's where they live, that's where their family is, but they took this position. They agreed to coming to Southern Georgian Bay when the hiring of the Ontario Provincial Police. Once they did their probationary period, and they were successful, then they would put in a lateral down to Wellington County. And that's what was happening up until Commissioner Creek came into the Ontario Provincial Police and said, okay, now you have to have a minimum of first class, which takes 3 years to obtain that level of rank, first class constable. So from the time they get hired, the first, let's say the first 3 months, 4.5 months roughly, they're in either Ontario Police College or at the academy, learning the OPP way, and then they get spread out across the province to their detachments. So once we get them, there's still quite a bit of training that they need to do with the SFST, so the standard field sobriety test, testing procedures and so on and so forth. So they're going back and forth to the academy, which allows us, we're in good proximity for that because it's a drive into the academy and a drive back, but it's a week-long course. So we miss them from here, for different periods of time, but then they get all trained up, but we keep them now for 3 years. So now some of those people that we had for 3 years have moved on to other detachments, making our whole, we have 7 recruits coming on the 4th of February. So that'll be the largest since I've been here. I think the other, we had 6 the last time and now 7 this time. So it kind of shows you where we stand with the new officers coming in and then having to learn the area, because there's only one officer that I know of since I've been here that has come in that's actually from the area. And that was the last recruit that we received. So we will be coming up 7 bodies, which will help out significantly and provide better visibility and support on the road. And the officers that are here are very tired now with the COVID. We're coming into the 3rd year, and I can't tell you how much, every time I go back to talk to the officers, I try to see them on their 2nd day shift. And it's just, we're tired, sir. We've got a lot of calls going on. Command is asking us for this much, traffic stops, traffic engagement, and we're dealing at minimums all the time. So they're sometimes going call to call. When you have 8 people and you're getting 48 to 50 during day shifts, 48 to 52 calls for service. Nights have been kind of reduced so a bit, but yesterday I popped in and said, not during the daytime, boys, get out on the road, let's go, be visible. So they can catch up on night shifts. So, but that's where it sits with all the COVID, dealing with COVID and staffing pressures right now. We'll move on to crime stats for Penetanguishene. And you'll see the numbers, some numbers look good, and it's just with the trend of COVID again. And I've said this to you, I think even in the last, you're going to see a marked difference, I believe, once COVID starts. We're already seeing some pushback in some areas. I can see it just by the calls for service that are coming in. Things are changing a little bit, and so we've had that downward trend. Besides theft from motor vehicles and stuff like that, but I think it's not going to be the norm. I'm glad. Let's just say I'm glad we're getting new officers because we're going to need more visibility out there. But you'll see in the we still had during the last year, 2021, 17 B&Es, theft from motor vehicles. This is out of Penetang alone. 7. Theft from motor vehicles, 24. And that's those are the people that are going around there at night. And we've had quite a few. So much so that we've had a couple of main characters, and I've contacted the Crown to ensure that they get held on to when they go in, because this is just, we're always, that goes to that recidivism piece that that Kelly did such a great job on with the letter and so on. So thanks for that, Kelly. The assaults you'll see are high, mid-range overall, but higher than probably the highest with the exception of the alarms and the 911 calls, which have also reduced significantly. So, but again, that's just for Penetanguishene rather, and mischiefs 32, alarms 57, again down, 911 calls 74, your impaired just for your area 6, and calls for service roughly 3,500. So you can see how the calls have gone up, which is kind of puzzling, because when you look at the calls for service every quarter, they go down. They've been going down. So it's kind of, I've checked on these, and Nicole says that's what I'm getting back. So we have to take what they give us, I guess. Let's go to crime clearance for Penetanguishene. Not as high as I'd like to see, but again, with the reduction of calls comes one or two calls that aren't for property, we're at 13 rather 0.8, and for drug crime 62%. And again, this is specific to Penetanguishene. So it's things that I can look at and confirm through other ways, which I've already asked Nicole when she gets caught up on her other stuff, that we start digging into this or reaching out to the Municipal Policing Bureau, because the numbers don't always seem to jive here. So I think my troops are doing better than what they are. Sorry about that. So so the clearance rates for the Southern Georgia Bay detachment is the next slide, and there you'll see them at 44%, again lower than all the other previous years. 13.4, again lower than all the previous years. And drugs, and this is for instance, when you look at the drug piece, that you will notice that we've been almost 100% all year with our CSCU unit. So this is why I'm saying I'm finding some inconsistencies that I really need to dig down into the weeds on, and things that I know and been watching all the way along through 2021. And you can say you're proud of the clearance rates and where we sit with the work of our members, and then to have the annual report come out and we're much lower. So that's being looked into. For our motor vehicle collisions for Penetanguishene, sadly we had one fatal in 2021, four personal injury accidents and 51 property damage accidents. See them all the way along. They're roughly the same to 2020, 2019's higher, 2018 and 2017. We just did the last 5 years. Going into the motor vehicle collisions for Southern Georgian Bay, 6 fatalities in total, 73 PIs at personal injuries, and 504 for our property damage. So we were one down from 2020 for fatalities. And again, we just had our first fatality on our snowmobiles yesterday up in Georgian Bay Township. So that's our first fatality there, which is totally against, we just put our safety message out on Friday, for crying out loud. So anyways, let's go on to the next, please. And we look at down in speeding, up in distracted driving, only because I think we've done 3. I noticed when I'm in my personal vehicle, the amount of people on their cell phones, because I drive a truck, so I'm looking down and I see the amount of people on their cell phones. So then I set up more initiatives on the distracted driving, only because it's the #1 killer in Canada for driving on our highways. So so that's why I had that happen, and you can see the difference. With impaireds, we're down significantly. So you can look at that being we did such a great job the year before, or we're just missing them. I think there's, and by all the rides we've done, I think we've only gotten from all the rides that we've completed, only two impaireds that we have arrested in rides. All the rest of them have come from either public complaint or pulling people over and just doing roadside investigation. So it's good to be visible and know that we're out there, but at the same time, ride doesn't always pick up on the major impaired. Going into their total big four, sorry, for the totals of big four is 3269 for our charges total, and then other HTA besides that, another 800, other CCs 441, and that's criminal code for those that are still, it's a Monday early, so, and the others for CDSA and insurance and stuff like that is 837. And total violations under the criminal side of the house there for the arrests, 1,075, and ADLS suspension 73. So that comes with now the suspended drivers and impaireds. Traffic stops at about 6,500. Patrol hours 17,351. And court hours low at 1,038. That's only because courts just opened up again. So otherwise that'd be a lot higher. Moving to the auxiliary program. Since, and again, with my background as a specialist with chemical bio, that kind of stuff, I limited the amount of people in here so that we would stay healthy, which sadly, the auxiliaries did not appreciate, and I can understand that. But now community safety section that sees any auxiliaries working in the province just due to the vast numbers of COVID-19 right now. So we've tried to limit them into the workplace, so they've been stopped. So that's that paragraph number 3, that since March 2020 the program's been stood down. It's been stood down in this detachment, and from the time of this fourth wave, now they're stood down across the province. So but we look forward to having them back. They do a great job in the community, and they're well sought after by myself and supported by myself and others when we can have them in here. Moving on to our waterways. We've again 1,200 square kilometers of water that we police, and we have done a considerable amount of work. We're on the water. We try to get out there as soon as we can in mid-April, so we're not hitting ice chunks. But we're out there until roughly the mid to the end of November. So we've got pictures of Thomas P. Coffin, which is right there in the photo, in the middle of a snowstorm, and we've also got pictures with it in 3-meter swales. So the troops do a great job out there in the water, and we weren't as successful as the year before with impaireds. And I think that's because we set the example. When you can look at the numbers that I gave you on our last quarter, I'm proud of the work the Marine unit's done. The last thing I want is somebody to lose their life on our waterways. We only have 5 vessels to cover 1,200 square kilometers. That's one of our main ones right there. And the Sea Swirl, there's the Sea Swirl and the Boston Whalers. So they're all in close proximity. But I have to tell you that there was still a lot of charges put out there this year to make sure our waterways were safe. And when I hear people saying, well, you can't do anything on the water here now, and they mean by drinking, I'm okay with that. I'll take that as a complaint. I'll actually take that as a compliment. Their complaint is my compliment. So, or I take it as a compliment. So they've done great work and they're going to continue. They had about 159 calls for service last year. As you know, the start of the year, they lost an elderly gentleman that was on an island. And they said, you know what, if we had an AED, we maybe could have saved him. The Thomas B. Coffin is the first vessel in Ontario to have an AED. To MSVs, the motorized snow vehicle. As you know, approximately 200 meters of trails, and that's not including the Georgian Bay and 6 Mile Lake, several other lakes that inland lakes that they police. They did approximately 148 calls for service and logged just over 550 hours on the sleds. They've been out in the sleds since last week here. As soon as there's enough snow, we've trailered to a couple of different areas and just had them out so that we don't want to drive, on the trails much themselves. However, we're also using cruisers at trail ends for speed and to ask them why they're driving on closed trails. So the troops have been spending as much time as they can trying to set the tone already for this year. And sadly, we lost a 58-year-old woman last night in Georgian Bay Township. So she was not from the local area. She was from York region. But as we said, we're ramped up for 2022. The sleds have been out for the last week and a half, I guess, since the last good snowfall before this one. So, and we've written quite a few jabs already. So it should be setting the tone, which is what we want to do. Educate and enforce. So where we're headed again, 2022, there'll be another action plan that I'll be starting to work on again coming into spring. And the community safety and well-being plan, that's just an ongoing piece and we're going to continue with the community engagement and education as we always do. And barring any questions from you folks, I'd be happy to answer. That would be the report for the last year.
Thank you, Inspector. Are there any questions of the board?
No.
Brad?
I'm curious as to any comments you might have, Inspector, with respect to the impaired driving charges being way down this year. Is that because of your shortage of manpower to enforce, or are people getting the message?
Thank you very much, Brad, through you, Mr. Chair. You know, I've got a couple of different thoughts on that, actually. One is I hope they're getting the message. Two is we also had many lockdowns this year, so we didn't see the traffic that we normally do. In saying that, we have done extensive, and that's where I was going with the comment on rides. We've done up to 5 rides in a day here. So all we've got is eyes to take, and we're not going to pull our mask down to get any odor. So as much as we could use that mask policy that is now in place, the lineup gets so long, you'll have like two kilometers of cars waiting to come through. It doesn't seem like it's that busy, but once you start doing a test on every car that goes by and every driver, then you'll see how long the lineup gets. In saying that, we weren't having a lot of positive results with that mandatory screening as well. So again, it goes back to the officers using their discretion and their evidence-based training they're trained to pick up any type of evidence that they can see with the car or with the driver themselves. So it is down considerable. And again, that's one of those numbers again that I was looking at and I'm saying, did it really drop that much? So according to Nicole, she says, I pulled it off the system and that's what we've got. So again, the big machine starts pulling all these numbers and I'm thinking, gee whiz, So she's going to be doing some checks on me, for me rather, on things like this so that we get better confirmation. Because it doesn't seem right to me. We did 6 in one day here. So.
Thank you for those comments.
Thanks, Brad. Mike, did you have a question? No? Any other questions? No, I have one. Joe, the PIPD in Penetang, do we have specific areas or is there a common area where these accidents are happening?
For the PIs,
PIPD, yeah.
So for, you know what, I can pull all that information to find out exactly where it is. I know where the fatal was, but I'm not even sure what the cause of all it, because I don't look at all the traffic accidents anymore, but I can get that all pulled, Mr. Chair, and have
It'd
that.
be interesting to see if it's in Penetang proper or in the outlying areas, just so we know if there's a problem in that area. Maybe it's sight lines, maybe it's something like that. The town needs to consider.
Absolutely, and with a personal injury accident, with the PI accident, that can be anything from the seat belt, you know, injured them and stuff. We mark down any type of injury. If they say no, there's nothing, then okay, it's nothing, it's a PD, but it's a property damage. But if you do have any type of soreness or anything, we mark it down as a PI. So it could be very minor in injuries, but still like something that you back in or you drive into someone's rear end at a stop sign, and the seat belt locks up and you end up hitting it, and you can say, ouch, you know, I've got sore sternum or whatever. That goes down as a PI, even though it might be minimal property damage from the vehicles, but it's the seat belt that caused the scoring of it being a PI, if you will. But if you want that, I can definitely get that pulled to find out the locations of the accidents.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No, well, I'd like to thank Nicole for, you can thank her for me, Joe, for putting this report together. I know it's really early in the year to be putting an annual report together, but I thank you for that. Hopefully we can get, yeah.
If I could expand, so this isn't exactly right, just because it doesn't have December part of this as well. So the December stats, so we'd have to wait until just after January, middle of February to get all of December in. So that's just how it works. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, that's no problem. Just for the members' sake, on February 9th, the council meeting, Joe will be giving this annual report, and I'll be giving the update from us as well, so members know. And hopefully some of the kinks will be out of that, Joe, so you look better than on your annual report.
Look better? Good. It's going to improve my looks. That's great.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
You can ask Nicole.
She's too honest, that one.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, thank you. So I have a motion here that the Police Services Board, where are we here? Sorry, let me get up here. That the Police Services Report received the detachment commander's 4th quarter report or a year-end report for information. Do I have a mover? Tom, seconder Mike, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Inspector. Next, our matters for consideration is the draft education training professional development policy, our Appendix H. I'm not sure how we'd like to handle this. I know that the report was handed out to members. There didn't seem to be any questions that came back. There have been a few minor changes, date changes and things like that. Perhaps a brief overview of the changes by either Tom or Phil, perhaps. It's members' discretion. What do we think? Anyone wish to expand on this or have any questions regarding the report?
I was wondering if I could just make one comment. It's it speaks to, it's in the personal learning and development plan.
Okay.
And if I could read this out, and I do have something that I've emailed out to Kelly to include in the minutes, but overall, everything that's here, I'm very respectful. And I think Tom, first of all, it was wonderful working with you. And if my memory serves me right, Tom, Jeff and Kelly accommodated us for 5 meetings at the town hall. We also had an additional meeting with Inspector Evans, and of course there was a follow-up with both the chair and Jeff Lees. But I'd just like to read something out, and it's actually on page 2 of the personal learning and development plan. And if this is acceptable to you, Tom, you're a member of the board, I'm not. But this must be balanced with the fact that board members are part-time and volunteer for positions. Board members should not be weighted on how much or how little non-mandatory education, training, or development they take. And I want to emphasize, and I'm not a board member, but I can't put enough emphasis on the role of our board administrator, who's also our CEO, which is just ideal with Jeff. And once again, as reflected in the work that's in front of us right now, is the work of Kelly Cole. And we're going to have people volunteering to come forward to do these particular positions. We need to keep that in mind. And that's what this whole program attempts to do. It's the equivalent of 2 days of training, one of which, by the way, is a responsibility of which we had to do as a board anyway. So we built that, what I call professional development in, and I say Tom and I built that in. So it's just 1 day of training. It's for the better choice of words, a multidiscipline approach to it. And the board makes the decision, but I've done a little bit of work and a little bit of reading on this topic, and I will be teaching it. It's been delayed by another month, I understand, because of COVID, but I'd be happy to volunteer anytime that I have as a citizen of this municipality to assist any way I can, Mr. Chair. But once again, we have been very blessed, or at least the amount of time that I was on the board, with the assistance of the board administrator, because we just simply wouldn't have the time to do this otherwise. So that's the only comment that I would certainly like to make. And the last one is on professional development. And to Tom's credit, he raised this, but if there are any opportunities, what I call post-COVID, they are always run through you as the chair, and with Jeff Lees back through Inspector Evans, and he's the gatekeeper. He says yes or no, but I think there's some wonderful opportunities down the road, and I just like to pause there. And Tom, that was 7 meetings altogether, so you may have some comments to add to it.
No, I just the one comment I wanted to make is how knowledgeable you are, Phil. Like, we were lucky to have somebody with all of your experience. I was a lay person, so I attended 7 meetings, but the majority of the information came from you. I just basically dotted the I's and crossed the T's, but it's good information.
All right. So thank you very much. Any other questions or concerns? No, can you make sure that all the updates are put together, Kelly, and so we can include this in our policies and procedures manual? Great. If that's all we have to say about that, then I'm going to read the motion that the Police Services Board approve Appendix H, the Education, Training, and Professional Development Plan as revised. I need a mover and a seconder. Tom, Mike, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Again, I thank you both for putting this together. It required a lot of research and a lot of work to be done. Phil, again, thank you. This will be the last time, well, maybe not the last time, but it'll be the last time you'll see him at a board meeting. So I wish you well in your teaching endeavors. And on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you very much for all the work that you put in the last year, or last amount of time you've been with the board. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda is other business. We don't have any. There's any public discussion? No. Date of our next meeting is Monday, March the 7th at 8:45. So if there's nothing further, I call for adjournment. Motion for adjournment.
Brian,
Joe, do you have a question?
yes, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
Prior to the 9th of February, I believe, is the council. Is that right, CAO? The 9th of February. I would like you and I, Brian, be able to chat if we
Sure.
could.
Yeah,
Just to make-
absolutely.
Just
Absolutely.
to make sure we've got a plan of attack going in and we look like we've done it before.
All right, the Mutt and Jeff show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm Jeff.
Yeah, okay.
You can fool some of the people some of the time.
Yeah, that's right. No, just so that yeah, we look professional when we're going to
Yeah.
present. So,
Absolutely.
Okay.
And a reminder to members that you are invited to the board, or pardon me, to the council meeting on February 9th, where the presentation will take place. And so
I
I'll call-
assume, Brian, that'll be Zoom.
that will be Zoom as far as I know right now.
And how can we get a link? We won't automatically get a link, will we?
Mr. CAO, I believe we're going to send an email to board members, correct, with the link?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Kelly will be circulating the Zoom information prior to February 9th.
Oh, okay. So if we
Okay.
want to attend, we'll have the link.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. No other questions, so a motion for adjournment. Tom, thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your
Thank you.
time.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Have a good day. Bye.
You
Good day,
too.
everyone.
We made it, Mike.
Yeah.